Good morning, Skitty. YouTube says hello. Yes, it is a bit warm to be sitting there up on the heated pad, isn't it? So, how's about we switch the pad off, we switch the inverter off, 15 degrees outside, 24 degrees inside. Skitty goes over for a feed. And here we see my daughter's third thermatic fan. The third one because, Skitty want to go outside? Brave Skitty. That little firebox in there gets fearsomely hot, and it's already cooked 2 of these, which are 4-year-old when I bought them. And these things were running at about 600 RPM, perhaps. Whether you had the original sheet metal propeller on them, or whether you had the hand-carved wooden laminated propeller. This is a bank down fire, which my daughter left at 7:30 this morning, so 2.5 hours ago, and this is still going. When you put it on there, it starts up within 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds, it commences to turn, and it runs at about 3,000 RPM. My daughter can sit on the bed 3 meters away and she can feel the hot air in her face when that thing's running. The only caveat is that you have to put it on the corner and you have to put it with its fins pointing at the flue so that the radiant heat from the flue has a chance of going straight through. Whereas we think this one was cooked by having been sat lined up with the edge, which means that the radiant heat from the flue was able to impact the cooling fins. You live and you learn. Or you don't live long, as they say. Anyway, might be a brave skitty kitty, but he doesn't go very far. And herewith the Chinaman's hat, which, as you can see, is about the same diameter as the wind shroud. And the idea is, just as air can go up to replace the air that's in the annulus or the torus, which has been heated and therefore expanded and thus become less dense and thereby become lighter, and the hot air rises and the bottom section is carefully jointed with flutes on it so that the bottom section can feed the top section, so your hot air rises all the way up to the top, and there is a little tiny bit of ash occluding the bottom holes, but not much, and I'm pretty sure that'll burn off next time the fire is lit. The reason that's there is because it's been banked down when the daughter went to town to go to work. So yeah, we've tamed the flue, broken it of its habit of filling itself with creosote, and the Chinaman's hat on top, its purpose is to hold about 25 millimeters of hot air around the top so that you don't get hot creosote ridden exhaust gas running into chilled stainless steel. So with a Chinaman's hat and a heat shroud, it becomes a fairly functional flue. And no more do you get these blobs of mud from condensation forming and being held in the cap, mixing with ash and then boiling when you light the fire, and as the bubbles burst they get splattered all over the top of the tent. That doesn't happen. We're no longer getting little bits of creosote coming out still glowing and burning, although if you look carefully there is very fine fly ash, mostly apparently from stringy bark. So yeah, that's what you've got to do to modify the stove that comes with a yurt in order to make it safe and functional. And that's how to get the best out of it, is when you've got the modern thermatic fans, the ones that actually seriously work and they can cope with a bit of actual heat. So there you go. I don't know whether you can see the diffraction patterns in the heat coming out of the chimney there in the shadow graph. But anyway, that's the situation with the yurt and the fire. And let's have a look and we'll see how it's going power wise. Not bad. For 10 o'clock in the morning, I see 5 amps going into the battery. I see 3.7677 amps coming out of this bank and being transferred across to this bank. I see a cat having a lot of fun with a rope and crushed granite. Must be good fun for a cat after 17 years of being a house cat. And seeing as it's a blue sky day and the solar panels are working and they're well underway at recharging the batteries from however much power the yurt used last night, I will switch the inverter back on and commence to charge my daughter's 30 plus 3000 milliamp hour or 111 watt hour. So I make that 10 amp hours worth of storage. A thing called a power bank. She uses it to charge her mobile phone. Now running on an inverter being fed by solar power, which is drawing 1.27, 1.3 amps from an available 5.22. So the battery voltage has only come down by 0.05 of a volt, 13.73 to 13.6768. So we can, in fact, recharge the deep cycles from last night's use while simultaneously herbing up the power bank on the inverter while the pussycat surveys it all. And the fan is still working on ember power to circulate the air in the yurt. And Skitty Kitty is left with a cat flap of sorts. But it has been noticed that Skitty Kitty tends to not go outside unless either I or my daughter are here at the yurt. Cat flap open, me over at my place, never see the cat. I go over there to play with the batteries, cat wants to come outside. Such is life. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. It goes on. Ciao.